Hi, everyone. I'm so glad to be here today with Clowes. I've invited Kat to do a very special demonstration for me. I am talking to independent educational consultants and their technology. That is going to be our focus for the next month. And how to use technology, what does it mean to you, and how do you adopt technology? What questions do you ask? And it's always much better to have someone who's actually using the technology to be able to explain to you, what that means. So thank you, Kat, for coming today and sharing your approach and how you use technology. You're actually very good at using technology. So I appreciate the fact that you want to share that. And today we're going to have you share a little bit about how you use CounselMore in your practice. So tell us a little bit about just a framework of your practice. Like, how many people do you have on your team, and how do you use technology overall?
So we have, we're a multi-counselor practice. So we have 3 full-time consultants. I have 1 part-time consultant, and we have office admin. We have a marketing person, and we have a business development office manager. And so it's really important in communication alone and making sure that everything's consistent, that we're using technology to the extent that we can to eliminate any inefficiencies, to keep communication clear between students, with parents, and between staff members. So we use technology a lot. We're always kind of looking for, what's going to work best. Is there a way that we can fix this? Is there a way we can automate this? And one of the biggest pieces of software in our practice is, of course, our CRM system, which we started a long time ago with Guided Path. We moved over to College Planner Pro, and we are now with CounselMore, and we found that CounselMore has fit most of our needs overall. We do use Google's Business Suite in our business, and so everything's on our Google Drive, and we share information with students through that Google Drive as well. So that's just a little bit about us. We do use a lot of the integrations between softwares with CounselMore. We also have, we use Zapier to create integrations between softwares. We create little zaps so that everything's as automated as it can be. So that just eliminates you having to do that task over and over and over again. So I'm going to share a little bit about how we use CounselMore in our practice. We do have an admin main account, and then each consultant has their own account as well. I'm personally a super user, meaning that even though I have a counselor account, I can act as though I'm an admin within the system. And so I'm going to show you first my account and how I use that with my sample student, who is Kat Awesome. She's my sample student. She's based on me applying for colleges.
Because all our students are awesome, right, Kat?
Yeah, all of our students are awesome. Kat is particularly awesome. So you can see this is the CounselMore system. When you pull up a student, I'll show you a little bit later what the main dashboard looks like and some of the customizations you can do. But I think kind of the meat and potatoes is when you pull up a student, what can you do with it? And so the first thing that I want to highlight is that I can, here in the student's bio section, get a lot of information from my student and record information about my student that I have just at my fingertips, which is great. Of course, I have my student information, including, what high school they're at, if they're active, majors. We track how they found us so that we can, further target marketing. We can tag students, according to their package. If they're an arts student or an athlete. We can also include confidential counselor notes. We don't use this as much because we're not that big yet, but if there was something I needed to record, that's there. We can also assign counselors. So if something, knock on wood, this never happens, if something happened to me and I needed to step out for a couple of weeks, I could reassign this student to another one of our consultants. What's nice is we can also record, of course, bio information like GPA if they speak other languages. We have the parent contact information here, including we can add in new contacts like an aunt or, beyond mom and dad, whoever wants to get copied on that information. And of course, their address, we can send them birthday cards and things like that. The other information bio-wise that a student can put in here or we can record in here include any testing information, of course, recording their AP tests, ACT, SAT, PSAT. Of course, we don't have subjects tests anymore, and any other tests that might be pertinent. We will have them record their participation information, which is great. And so they can add in new activities, including, months per year, weeks per month, hours per week, just like the applications are going to ask for it. Any awards and honors that they get, so they can keep this updated as we go. We don't use this piece as much. We'll have students fill it out initially just to kind of get an idea of the activities that they're involved in, but we have in our curriculum a different way that we have them record their activities into a full resume. So we don't use this as much, but other consultants could use it pretty, robustly if they wanted to. If they're an art student, they can record in their shows, any, portfolio work they've done, music. Do they have a digital portfolio? And if they do, they can put the URL in. We do use this for our art students just because a lot of times having them get that initial list can be a little, a bit of a brain stretch. So I don't know, I was in a whole bunch of shows. And then of course, what I love is they can put in their transcript into the system. And this has been really useful because later, if a student, for example, we don't have an updated transcript on file or, other difficulties, I lost that piece of paper, we have them load this in during their first meeting. And so we have them loaded in exactly how it shows up on their transcript. And this helps, of course, with applications or SRAR reports. They have it on file. It's here in the system if they need it, but it's also great for 4-year planning. So you can add in, what we're planning 11th and 12th grade or 10th, 11th, 12th grade, kind of depending. It also has spots for, what are our options for maybe some summer programs and things like that. Other pieces of the bio section that are automatic with CounselMore that I really love. There's a self-assessment in here that students take. We have them take right when they log into the system. It's one of our first meetings. And it gives us a sense of, who they are, details about them, and how they're feeling about the process. And this is all included. We did not code this in. So it talks, do they consider themselves strong writers, strong recommendations? Are they comfortable with interviewing? Do they have any work or volunteer experience? There's also a little bit about interests where they can write their responses to some interesting questions, like what was something you overheard in another person's conversation that caused you to eavesdrop? Events that they're aware of, just little ways to get to know them a little bit better before that initial meeting. And as you're getting to know the student, some sentence completions, which are kind of fun. And then, of course, we have a college shopping section that gives us a really good overview of what they're looking for. So we have, location, of course. Do they want to be in the city? Do they not want to be in the city? Do they have legacy anywhere? Colleges that they are thinking of initially? Just a few basic questions to get us started. And so that's been really valuable because it's right here in the system. And as we have them filling out everything else, students can quickly just kind of check boxes and fill this out, and it makes it a lot easier. As you're going along with a student, one thing that we use a lot is the encrypted keychain piece, because we all know that students are really good about keeping track of their usernames, portals, applications, portal accounts, and things like that. They're not. So what's great about this is that it is encrypted. I always recommend our students, not put their bank account password in here. I have them create a new college application password, but they can record that in the system, which we really like. They also have access to our FISC guide profile. And so we use this a lot. We put our username and password into the FISC guide so that they can access that on the college list building side. And so I'll show that to you a little bit later. But we have them put their portals, their applications, everything in here so that they don't forget those usernames and passwords. Also, where they've been accepted the major they applied to and any scholarships they received and whether or not they're enrolled. This is really important for our reports later. And this automatically populates as a student is adding colleges to what's called their app tracker, which I will cover a little bit later as well. And then finally, at a glance, students can add in who they're considering asking for letters of recommendation. And that's great because, again, at a glance, you can see that and you can check in on it. And so I like that as well. Finally, you can export their academic bio to their Drive folder so that we have it on record. I'm going to show that each student has their own Google Drive folder in our system that is theirs, that they can put all of their college information into, and we upload our curriculum into. And so we can export that, which is great as well. So that's the bio section. You can see it's really easy if I wanted to reshare their Google Drive folder with the email I have on record, or if I can see when they last signed in. So if they tell me they were working really hard on something, I can see, did you sign into CounselMore last night or the night before? Kat has not signed into her account for a while. She must be a senior. So you can easily share that information, reshare that information with the student. Let's go over the tabs and kind of how we use them. The assignments tab is my favorite. And the reason why is that all of their homework and meeting notes are here. I can designate whether or not a student sees them and a family member sees them. And not only are they here in the system, but I can email them out to just the student, just the parent, or both the student and the parent, kind of as a fail-safe. So they have it here in the system. A student has a login to their CounselMore account and a parent has a login to their CounselMore account. And so that's another thing that we really liked about it, is that parents could see on the college list, they could see, what's going on. They can also see assignments. The other really nice thing is that you can preload. It says read through the basics of college admissions guide. I can set a due date. The student can indicate when it's completed. And this is actually a pre-populated assignment that we created in CounselMore. So we don't have to reinvent the wheel with every single assignment we have. So let's say that I wanted to add to Cat Awesome's assignments. I just go up here and I can add just blank new assignment, new meeting notes, or routine assignments. And routine assignments are pretty much taken straight from our curriculum. We can preload these in, we can update them as we go along. Let's say that Kat needs to work on her activities. I just choose which activities assignment. You can see that I have step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. And if I click on this, it will automatically add that to Kat's assignment list. And when I edit it, I can actually, from her student file in Google Drive, automatically link whatever she needs from our curriculum. So maybe she needs her activities tracker. So I just double click that automatically attaches itself to her assignment. So there's no reason why she wouldn't have what she needs. I can just set that deadline and then it's all there, ready to go. If maybe I wanted to add a whole bunch of assignments in here and I didn't want her to see them yet, I just don't set a deadline. Now that can be dangerous because sometimes I get just, I'm working and then I, get pulled away and then I come back and then I just email everything out and maybe I didn't check to see if I gave it a deadline. And so sometimes that can be a benefit. Sometimes it can't be, but you can see from how the student sees it that she sees, what the main title is, her tracker, her link to anything that she needs. I can also add links to any videos I might have made to help her with this assignment. And then she can click down and she can see the description and the actual assignment itself. I really like this. It saves a lot of time on our end. We're still perfecting it. There's also a calendar view. So you can look and see, what's due when, and you can kind of, put things together as needed.
It's really nice, Kat. That's very flexible and user-friendly.
So I love the assignments area. The other area that we use very often in assignments is that actually we can send an auto summary and we can make that weekly. We can make that every second week, month, or quarterly. We will set this, quarterly for freshmen and sophomores, monthly for juniors, and then weekly as they become seniors. We can decide when that starts, we can turn it on, and then we can get copied as well. And I really like that you can kind of set when it's going to get those auto reminders, and it'll just resend their assignments as a reminder as well. Any meetings that Kat has, we have integrated CounselMore with Acuity. And the way the integration works is that when they schedule something on Acuity, it automatically puts itself here into assignments. And so the Zoom link that they need, the reminders are sent through Acuity, which is great. And so that'll show up here on her assignments as well.
Nice.
It's really cool. On the messaging tab, what's great is that not only can you send emails to the student and the parent and any drafts, any broadcast emails will show up here. So you have a full record of any interactions with the students and parents, but there's also, you can text the student and the parents through the system by mass broadcast and individually. And so you can see, here's admin, use this number to text me during your college prep process. I gave a YouTube link at some point. And then this is one of our mass texts, which is, tomorrow's our senior send-off webinar. Check your emails, make sure you register. I can send her mom texts as well. And so this makes it really easy because I'm always at my keyboard. It's a lot easier to text through my keyboard than it is on my phone, even though I'm a millennial and I should be able to text fine, but I still prefer my keyboard. You can also chat with your student. So I tell my students that anything that's not an emergency should go into the chat that we can talk about next meeting. And so Kat had asked, if I take French instead of Spanish, will that affect admissions? And so this is a question that maybe I could chat back and say, let's talk about this at our next meeting, but I have a record of that as well, which is really nice. And of course, again, any emails, any interaction with the student is recorded. One of the biggest things that I love about CounselMore and really pushed us over the edge for using CounselMore is, especially with multi-consultants, you have consultants maybe at different levels of being a consultant, meaning, maybe you have a consultant just starting out, maybe you have a really experienced consultant. And as we know, building that college list in your head, that file cabinet, takes a lot of school visits and experience. And so one of the things that was harder, especially as you're training maybe a new consultant, is having that database and going over college lists. So what I love about CounselMore is there is a consultant list. So you can have colleges waiting in the wings to introduce your student to. These ones here where they have the little graduation cap check, these are ones that have been shared with the student, or maybe the student has added to their list. And then I have some colleges here waiting in the wings. Maybe I wanted to build a list for a student. I can add, that college by name, or I can use CounselMore's search feature, which I really like. So maybe I have a student who's doing, ag business. And so I can automatically just click here under agriculture and choose ag business. And I can show the results of any and every school for the most part that offers ag business, which is great. There's about 61 schools. I can also put filters in, the admissions rate, my students' GPA, SAT averages. I can do, do they have pre-med? Do they have pre-vet, pre-dentistry, any specialty programs? I can choose locations, including I can select states to not maybe include here in the list. Do they want to be in rural areas? Do they want to be in the city, kind of in between? The type of school, any and all search features that we usually use when we're searching for colleges, we're going through all of our research processes. We can do that through filters here, which I really like. One of the other things is when we look at financial aid, including merit aid, I use it a lot for sports. So maybe I have a student who wants to do women's basketball Division III. It will also pull up any women's Division III basketball, which is really nice. And so it'll automatically filter out. So these are the two ag business schools, maybe not exclusive, but, I can pull them up just with a click of a button, which is really nice. Let's say that I wanted to add one. I just click here and I click done, and it automatically includes it on my list, but not the student list. So I can choose which schools I want to research. And you can see that on my research sheet, I have a lot of different columns that I can use. I can actually decide in my settings what columns of data I want included here, not only for me, but I can make those data columns different for my student, which is great. I can go right to the website from here. I can designate whether or not I think that this is a likely for a student, a target, or a wildcard. You can also change these settings to whatever you call them in your practice. It'll tell me some more about the majors that they have. I can launch a virtual tour or campus impressions if they have it, and I'll introduce you to that in a moment. There's a little bit more about each school's profile. I can look at their admissions rate at a glance, GPA. And one of the things that I love is I'm always worried about, when was this data last updated? Do I need to look at the common data set? But if you click on this little question mark, it'll tell you this was updated by a data house in 2020. This was updated by a data house in 2020. So a lot of the information here, you can check and see when it was last updated. Maybe you have new information, you can submit that to CounselMore and they will update it in their system, verified by an IEC, they'll verify it, et cetera. So that's great. There's also a way, if I go, see all of my data columns, like minimum requirements, are they semester, quarter system, trimester, money matters, numbers of applications they received, a little bit more about the location, Google Maps, you can look at it in Google Maps. I use a lot of the common data set pieces. You can add counselor opinions. And so maybe I visited, I can share my opinion about ASU. I can tag this school in different lists of my own. And then we're in the process of adding our college notes from visits into the system here for our reference. And so that's really great that you can do that here too. So as you're researching, you can add in colleges. And then when you want to share it with your student, all that you do is you click this little graduation cap and it moves to Cat Awesome's list. Now, Cat Awesome's list, she can look at it in two different ways. There's this tile kind of system where it's very visual, and she can click right on the seal. It'll show us a little bit more visually the data. And so this is great for students who really want a great overview. Talks about tuition, graduation rates. From the admissions tab, you can look and see, are they considered, selective, extremely selective, et cetera, their deadlines. And then it pulls from the common data set the weight of different components of the application. So I have students look at this as well. Your essays are very important. They're not looking at an interview at all. And so that's all auto-populated here. Also, it tells a little bit about financials by income, which is great for parents. And then the makeup of the student body, which is also really important. Students can go straight to the school's website from here, which is great. The other way that you can look at it is you can click on grid here and it will pull up all of that information in spreadsheet form for the student. You can customize these columns that they see in their research. They can give you a rating. They loved this school, they want to learn more about it, or they didn't like it at all. They can go straight to the school's website from here, and the parent can approve it. So parents can approve or not approve this school. They have something called campus impressions, which is great, where it's interviews with current students. This is independent of the school itself, and CounselMore has worked with this company to give a little bit more about the academic experience at the school, social opportunities, campus culture, pros and cons of the school itself. And all the way at the bottom, it goes reasons to attend, reasons not to attend, and they can look at all the interviews for a certain school, which is great. So from a research end for students, they can view their chances if they have filled out their GPA, their test scores, and that survey. So that's great. They can kind of see for themselves what their chances may be. They can also look at as much or as little information as you want them to see on the spreadsheet, which I love. And at the very back, how we use it is we have students put their research notes in here as well. And so they can go in and they can put in, oh, I really love this program. I didn't. We can put notes in here, check this piece out, look at this program, and then we can chat back and forth. Love this school. Do they have sushi on campus? Didn't like this school, didn't like the school. My family's forcing me to apply. and you can chat with your student about different schools here as well. You can also assign that fit again, if it's a wild card. And so it's an easy way at a glance that students can see, is everything red? Are we well balanced, etc. Once a student loves a school and hearts it, it goes to their application tracker. And I love this as well. It's a little bit more customizable. And so you can easily delete any and all columns that you don't want. It will automatically populate, are they using the Common App, test policies? And then a student can go in and edit what their essay status is. I'm working on this. I don't have this done yet. Completed, 12, 14, 21. You can also go in and check that it's complete. Or if something isn't complete yet, you can make it yellow and warn them, remember, this is due soon, or this is overdue. You need to get this done ASAP. What I also love about this is that you can download it as an Excel spreadsheet and send it to parents. And so they can see the status of each component of their student's application. There's also on here, did they create their campus portal? Have they sent their midterm grades? Have they sent their FAFSA or CSS profile? Have they, what's the decision, interview status, post-submit status? So there's a lot more columns here, and I really like that. Students can keep track of everything. Finally, each student, as I said, they have their own Google Drive folder. If I click on here, it's going to take me straight to Kat Awesome's Google Drive folder. This is her folder in our system. And you can see that anything and everything in here, she can edit. She's in our client folder for the class of 2021. And this is our pieces of our curriculum. You don't have to add the curriculum all at once. We will actually add in and upload files. We can apply our templates, which is our curriculum folders. So we can go in here and say she needs to do the standardized test unit, and I can copy that folder into her file really easily. It's automatic. And so I can decide at what time she's going to get different pieces of her curriculum. And in there is linked to all of the assignments that she needs. So, we were looking at activities earlier. Here's her activities tracker that she can edit. We have a guide for what counts and what doesn't count, and then some suggestions for activities and award opportunities as well that she can kind of filter through. That's part of one of her assignments. So that's really nice. You don't have to worry about who has access to what. It's very clear. She has access to it, and then it's linked. It's really easily linked to all of her assignments in the assignments tab. Finally, we don't use this as much, but there's an accounting tab. You can, track your time. There's also a way that you can track your mileage. We have an office, a brick and mortar office. And so they come to us, and then online we do Zoom. And so we don't actually track our hours. We probably should, but we do comprehensive packages mostly. And so we don't use the accounting tab as much. There's also Quattro money that we don't use, but this can help students and families to plan for how much each school is going to be, student loans and things like that. Again, we don't use that. And then finally, you can go into your settings here, and you can decide, what data menus for the student and the counselor, what columns they're going to get. You can add in any and all routine assignments. You can bulk assign an entire assignment to a class. You can broadcast emails and texts to students here in the system. You can change your business setup. You can also go to your dashboard. I don't use my dashboard as much, but you can put in your to-dos as a consultant, who has completed their assignments and who has not. And then I look at our schedule on Acuity, so I don't use this piece, but you could upload and see all of your appointments for the day. There's a reports piece here in settings that for reporting, I can't show this to you because it's going to show my students, but here you can pull up financial reports, who's paid their bill and who has not. You can pull up assignment reports, who's completed their assignments and who has not. Who's been accepted, their scholarships, where they're going. You can do that by student or by college, which is great, or by class. And then there's a couple other reports that you can pull up as well for your business needs, which is great. We also have an admin account. So for our admin account, our admin can see everybody's students and can also make major changes to the system and what students see as well. Overall, we find it really easy to use. It integrates really easily with a lot of our other softwares, and it eliminates a lot of extra work on our part because a lot of that is already uploaded into the system. We can change things per year. We can customize. Maybe we have late start seniors. We have a late start senior curriculum that we can pre-populate in there with assignments. Makes it really easy.
That is really great, Kat, and demonstrates a lot of the different tools and what technology is supposed to do in terms of help us, make time, because that's always been my purpose, is to use technology to spend less time on the back end so that you can spend more time doing what you really want to do, which is work with students, right?
Right.
And move them forward. And also the communication part of communicating with the student and the parents and both, that makes a huge difference. So the big question everybody always wants to know is, do the students use this? You've shown all these different things that they can do and these assignments, and the templates are great, but how do you encourage students to use and log in and use CounselMore?
So we introduce them to it from the start. This is what we're going to be using. You need to pull it up before every single meeting. Everything that you need is in here. We give them a full tour of it. They actually have an assignment to fill out that bio section before they have their first official meeting with us. And so we've integrated it in that it's expected that and you be accessing this because this is your main hub of information for us. Now, of course, we have some students that use it way more than others. And so, sometimes during meetings, you're like, go to this tab. You see where this is? Okay. Remember, this is where this is, right? But for the most part, we've made it that expectation that this is where everything is, and this is what you're going to be operating out of. And after, 3 or 4 meetings, they really get the hang of it. That's what I really liked about it is on the student side. It's very intuitive. There's not a lot of clicking around. There's not a lot of complication. They can see everything easily. They can add things in easily. I'll have students go in and then just go wild with adding colleges just to look at them, right? So they'll go in. They can't search like consultants can search, so they don't have access to that, but they can search by college name. And they'll go in, they'll just add a whole bunch of schools, and I'll go in, there'll be 40 schools on their list. I'm like, oh, tell me more about your research. Tell me more about these schools. And so they get into it. And then it's a great way, you can download and export things to Excel, which a lot of parents are comfortable with. So even if you don't have tech savvy parents to log into their portal, there's still a way that you can email them what they need so they can keep up to date with what's going on with their student. And I love that.
That's great. That is great. And I think that's the key for all of us is the more you emphasize and demonstrate, lead for them in terms of this is where I'm at, I'm using this, I'm expecting you to use it, especially now with Zoom calls and we're meeting with students virtually so much, pulling it up and just saying, here, have you gone here? Let's pull this up, show me where you're at. Then that just reinforces that. So yeah. And you're always going to have students who don't do it and some that do it more. And, you just kind of learn to expect that, right? So
that's exactly, it doesn't matter what it is. You're always going to have a couple students that, just don't interact with it. We tell them, part of going to college is you're going to have to log into your student center, whatever portal you're going to be with, at your school. And that's how they're going to communicate with you. And so you need to be able to navigate things like this. So that seems to help a little bit too.
Yeah, that's a good point because it's part of teaching them, including that transition and teaching them how to be adults. So yeah. Kat, thank you very much for your time and for sharing. That was very, very helpful. I know I and our listeners will really appreciate this. Thank you.
Thank you so much for allowing me to share. It was fun.
And we will end this. Okay.